Mr. Chairman, members, Michael Renatz, Executive Director, Louisiana Sheriff's Association. And Mr. Chairman, I took note of the fact that you said 1 minute, but I begged the indulgence of a few more.
Two's fine.
I said few. Thank you very much. Sheriffs are very proud of the public safety role that they fulfill in the various parishes. Our sheriffs are the chief law enforcement officer, chief tax collector, process service, keepers of the jail, and bailiffs of the court. So we have many functions that we accomplish. In this function, the keeper of the jail, we're fulfilling Louisiana Revised Statutes 1574, where the sheriff is the keeper of the jail in each of the parish facilities. In doing so, we book inmates, transport officers to court, take care of care, custody, and control of offenders, victim notification, work release programs, and work details. I know you're very familiar with the work details that we do in the respective parishes. I know Representative Harris is very aware of the functions that Sheriff Hilton does in Alexandria and what's done locally in East Baton Rouge. Sheriffs house over half of the state's 33,000 prisoners. To date, we're holding 17,046 offenders. And currently, we have over 5,000 vacancies in the facilities in which we operate. Louisiana does house a high number of DOC inmates in the local facilities, and inmates are housed locally to provide support to the state under the supervision of the Department of Corrections. This whole thing, the supervision is in what is referred to as basic jail guidelines. Those are the rules of operation that we are under the supervision of the Department of Corrections. The reimbursement rate to a sheriff in the state of Louisiana is $24.39. It has been that rate since 2008. So for an 11-year period, it has been the same. Since 2016, the Department of Corrections rate per unit has increased from $51.35 to $60.09, in which you said today. Our figures in our book was $59.86. That was collected through the American Correctional Association. But I heard today as you that the actual rate per inmate is $60.09. What drives up the cost for the state drives up the cost for locals also, and that is personnel cost, retirement, health care benefits, Gadsby provision, and liability. That's the primary driving factor for us. Representative Edmonds asked the question, what do we pay for that basic level of correctional guard? A deputy sheriff is they're all deputy sheriffs that work for us, and we start them off as low as $22,000 in some parishes. We 21 actually is the lowest. They average in the low 20s in the majority of the rural areas, and in the metropolitan areas they could be as high as $32,000 for basic entry salaries. The most important thing that we did under the direction of our President, Sheriff Weber, was to ask the American Correctional Association to validate the studies of the rates between the states. It's primarily a study of southern region states that reimburse sheriffs and other states. And you'll note in the brochure that it ranks from Mississippi all the way to Indiana. Indiana is one of the outlier states that was used, but we are at $24.39. Mississippi is at $20, but they get a reimbursement in addition to that for some kind of Medicaid formula. Oklahoma is $27, Arkansas $30, Georgia $30, Kentucky's $31, and Indiana $35. So we're really below average in Southern Region as far as the reimbursement rate. Total inmate population, Louisiana ranks only in numbers in the surveyed states to Georgia, but as stated, we rank number 2 per capita per 100,000 of the offenders that we hold. So we were the highest incarcerating state. We're no longer by that per capita rate. What's changing in DOC today and in sheriff's facilities, and this seems to be the trend, and I know that Representative McFarland is very aware of this, where we've gone down substantially in the total DOC count from 20,533, which was in 2014. We're at 17,003 today. In 2019, what's going up is the number of federal detainees that are being held in sheriff's facilities. So that number in 2019 and what we provided to you is 2,469. The town of Richwood, in addition to that, recently contracted or negotiating a contract with ICE, and it's believed that within the next week they could be populated with over 1,000 additional federal detainees. So that seems to be the growing trend. The local reimbursement rate, our cost, I testified to this number with you previously, actually exceeds $34.50. We're not keeping track of cost. You heard Secretary LeBlanc state, and I want to really take 1 minute to just say, you pay us to detain prisoners for the state of Louisiana when you really should focus on why do we just detain and concentrate on what you refer to, Secretary LeBlanc, as lock and feed. We should do more programs. We should do a lot more treatment programs in sheriff's facilities. The reason why we don't is that we simply cannot. We're in such a posture now where we cannot pay for the cost of the basic care, and that's something that's a shame. It drives up the recidivism rate, and in many conversations with sheriffs, the people that we hold in our jails, they're not numbers to us. They're the names of the people, the families that we know. The same people that we know are going to be released in our communities. So we want to do a better job, and the end result to be a better outcome for the citizens of our state. So we need to invest in these jails that are holding over half of our state's prisoners. We need to do a better job of investing, and we've asked the sheriffs to do so. And that's why we will come to you in the future and ask you for assistance to increase that rate, where you've increased $9 in 3 years for the Department of Corrections. We'll be asking for a $4 increase to assist us to keep us with the cost, and that we're hoping that for future reinvestment funds that they would be placed in sheriff's facilities so we can do a better job on the treatment programs that we know that you think we should be doing as well. I'll be happy to answer questions, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Renata, I have a question. It's not related to this, but it's something that you brought up at a meeting that we had last year. And it's the prison that is run by a commission in, is it Union Parish or Vernon Parish? One of those.
Ma'am, I think you had a question about that last year.
Right. It's Union Parish. Do they get the same amenities in that prison as you would get in your local jails?
Well,
Or
the Union Parish Commission is still under basic jail guidelines, and if they're holding state offenders, then they're under the same supervision of the Department of Corrections. But in this case, the sheriff in Union Parish is just a member He's just a member of the
Of the-
board.
right, exactly.
He is not the supervisor. He is not the keeper of that facility. So that change in those provisions was done, I believe, over 20 years ago.
And how would we get more information on that particular person? Go directly to the commission?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I need to get, I'm sorry.
We'll have monitor reports that we can send you.
I would like to see that because I think that's important. There are some issues that I think are important to look at in that person. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
All right, board is clear. Thank you, sir.